Okay, well, hey, welcome back everybody to another episode of Ted Talks Guitars and Life. Today is a cool day, man. I've been waiting for this day for a minute. I got my good buddy J-Man with me.
Hey everybody,
Yeah, bro, good to see you, man.
good to see you, man.
And first, let me say, I've got some questions written down here, but we could just freestyle, just see where the conversation goes. But first, man, just and seriously, I think I found your channel. I was trying to think today. I think it was about 6 months ago. And I had made a couple of videos. I never thought I'd have a YouTube channel, wasn't trying to have a channel. I was just doing my thing. And I found you, and man, I just really connected with the vibe and your demeanor more than anything. Truthful, but kind of kind at the same time for the most part. To tell the truth and shame the devil. That's what I say on my channel. So, uh, I just want to thank you, man, for your influence and inspiration in my life, and I'm sure there are other viewers who feel the same way.
Hey man, I really appreciate that because it's funny how you say you didn't really set out to start a YouTube channel because I didn't either. It was just
Yeah, tell me
right.
about it. How did it happen?
Well, well, so when COVID hit, everything got shut down, right? So
Oh,
I was playing in a couple bands, and that all went awry. Like there was just nothing going on. There were
hmm.
lockdowns. It was just a whole bunch of ridiculousness, if you ask me. But we won't get into that part. But so I was basically just looking for something to do, and I'm like, you've heard me play. It's I'm not like an educated musician. Like I don't know tabs. You put tabs in front of me or music in front of me, I'm just like nothing's happening. I just play by ear and patterns mostly. It's good enough to survive in a in a little club situation for bands and stuff. But so when COVID hit, I was like, man, now what? Because if I don't play, I don't play. Like if I'm not out playing, I rarely sit down and practice because I don't know enough to practice. Like like I wouldn't know what to practice. What scales? Like what are those? I don't know. Right? I just so it really kind of, man, I got to do something. So I started watching YouTube videos, and I thought maybe I can pick up some lessons here and there, and just keep my chops up for when this COVID thing is over. So, and I kept seeing these videos of this company by the name of IYV,
Oh,
ITF 300 guitar. Actually, give me a sec.
yeah, do it.
Because it's just on my rack. So this thing, this
Oh,
ITF,
wow.
IYV, ITF 300. And I kept hearing, how people were like, man, this guitar is so good. It's awesome. And I'm thinking to myself, what? Because I was a brand name snob at the time.
Mm.
Like Fender, custom shop stuff. Like I had like $3,000-$4,000 guitars on it. Like to me, if it didn't say Fender on headstock, if you didn't spend at least a couple grand, it couldn't have been much good. But this
Yeah.
whole time, I was buying these expensive guitars and modding them, changing the pickups, shielding them. Some of them were not shielded. They were just not
Yep.
for me right there. And then, so I was kind of getting kind of ticked a little bit about these, budget guitars, and they're so awesome. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy one. I got nothing to do anyway. And I'm going to make a video. I wasn't sure how. I'm going to make a video, and I'm going to prove to everybody that all these people talking about this guitar are they're just lying. Like they're just, right? They're
Yep.
not shaming the devil. So, because there's no way that, so this guitar was $175 here in Canada. So what's that, like $7 US?
Yeah, wow. Hey, yeah,
So,
7, yeah.
so I was like, wow, that's crazy. So I bought it, and it showed up on my doorstep, and I turned my camera on. You've seen my videos. Nothing's like, I'll edit like for time, but I don't edit like content or whatever.
Mhm.
I'm not even smart enough to do that. But so, and I did a video of this thing, and I'm like, man, this guitar is really good. What the heck's going on? So, I
Yeah.
played it a little bit on the video, and I guess that kind of started it. and within a week, I had like 10,000 views on that. I'm like,
Wow.
what? And my kids are freaking out. I didn't know what that meant, but they're like, wow, that's a lot. So then I had a bunch of comments and subscribers, and I'm like, what's going on? So I did another one where I modded it. I blacked it out, of course, right? Me and
Of course,
blackout
yeah.
hardware, and it just kind of went out. So that's how it got started. My intentions weren't to start a YouTube video, but I've always done mods and stuff to everything I've ever owned, like whether I pay $2,000 for it or not. And then I come to the realization that these guitars that I'm buying, these companies don't care about me. They don't build them for me.
Wow.
Right? Anybody
Yeah.
can walk into the music store and order that guitar. Like, they're not built for me. So then and then taking these things apart and starting to look at how they're built and they're routed and like, I started realizing there isn't a big difference from my $2,000 to my $175. Now, yes, component wise, fit and finish, maybe materials, but my ability on the fretboard, whether it's on this or my custom shop telly, there's no difference, man. So I realized, wow, I've been spending a lot of money on instruments that maybe I should rethink this. So then I started to buy, other budget guitars and other brands, and man, I was like, what's going on? So, and that's kind of what got it started. And I since have sold a bunch of my high-end stuff. Like, man, on a typical night, I'd have like $6,000 or $7,000 on stage that I was playing through, like my amps and pedals, and that stuff is all gone. And you know what? I haven't really felt any difference as far as my ability to deliver at a Legion dance, for example, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, it just kind of rocked my world a little bit. And no, I still love the high end stuff. I just, being a father of two and having a house and bills and all this stuff, this is just so much more rewarding. And there's no stress, right? There's no stress. Like, if someone knocks it over at a gig, whatever, it's $175. I don't care, right? But so that kind of is what got started, is this guitar. And I still play it. Every time I get a call to fill in for a gig, I grab this thing. It's because it's got the P90s in it that I modded, and I never know what I'm walking into, but this guitar will deliver. It's crazy. I got like a $3,000 handmade custom guitar, and it just sits there. So anyway, so I feel like it wasn't my intention to start a YouTube channel. It just happened.
That's crazy. Yeah. What you said really resonates with me. I say it from time to time on the channel. I think everything is player preference. So if you're going to buy something, and then you're going to have to do what you would normally do to it to make it your own, as you say. And I think you're spot on, man. I mean, they're not manufacturing guitars for, the end user, always the player, from time to time. So I appreciate that perspective a lot, man. I really do.
Yeah. And it's different for everybody. And I understand that, right?
That's right.
I have friends that I play with that, if it doesn't say Fender on the headstock, like, they just don't take you seriously. And, they take me seriously because we have a relationship, and they know who I am, and they know how fussy I am with my stuff. And, so that's fine. But they're always like, oh, if it's not Fender, it's no good. If it's not Gibson. Anyway, but working on them on the bench, it's the same stuff. Fret levels, filing down nuts, changing electronics. It's the same stuff, right? So I just got tired of paying those prices. And it's kind of liberating. And I like having a little bit more money in my bank account.
You can buy more cheap stuff.
There you go, right? There you go.
That's the way I'm rolling right now, dang.
Yeah.
Well, how did you get into, so a little bit of context. So I have a lot of folks who comment to some of the videos that I do, and they say things like, yeah, but I could never solder. I could never, do frets. I could never, I don't have the tools. I don't know that. They're just afraid to even take screws and look under a pick guard. how did you, was there a time when you were hesitant to like take the guitar, down to components? And if so, how did you bridge that gap?
Um, well, yeah, you know what? I think that stuff relates to maybe a little bit of like people's personalities.
Yeah,
Some people are just more daring than others, like in general. And
yeah.
I've never really cared too much about that stuff. Like, I'll try anything once. So I know, like Wayne Gretzky said, you're going to miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So
Yeah,
people that say that are never going to learn to do that until they just go ahead and do it.
yeah.
And another quote that I like is, there's nothing that you can mess up bad enough that someone else can't fix.
Mm.
Right? This like there's always someone out there that can, fix something. I've never seen a guitar in bad enough shape that where it couldn't be fixed. Now, do you want to spend the money to fix it? Maybe not. But so I've never really worried about that stuff. I just did it. And most of that whole thing came about because I was frustrated with wanting to get something done to my guitar and having to wait. Like, I'm not, I don't have, if I want something done, I want it done. Right? I need it for Friday.
Yeah.
I got a gig. I got it, right? And then you have to wait 2 weeks. And then sometimes, oh, sorry, next week I'll get it done. I'm like, ah. So then out of frustration, I just do it myself. And by doing, you is how you learn. For me, anyway.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
read any book that you want and you can know all the theory you want, but until you apply that theory to the fretboard, right, or to your tools or to whatever it is you're doing, you can read every fitness book you want, but if you never lift a weight, I don't know how that's going to go for you, So it's just, for me, it's just a common sense thing, right? Just get it done and don't worry about it. And especially
Yeah,
with stuff like this, $175, come on. If I mess
yeah.
it up, right? And now today with Amazon and stuff, everything can be pre-wired. You can just buy the kits, drop them in. You don't even have to. So that's never really been an issue for me, Ted. Honestly, I
Yeah.
don't really. Right. Anyway.
No, that's good. That's good. No, I appreciate you saying that. I do think it is personality related. And also, I think you're also correct about, well, if you got an $800 guitar, that's probably not the guitar you want to swap pots on, out of the gate. You probably want something a little less
Yeah.
expensive, or maybe not. Everybody's, got
Yeah.
different size wallets, I
But
guess.
again, that's yeah. I think that's a belief. Like that's kind of a. I don't know. It's weird because it's the same pot, it's the same solder wire, and it's the same soldering gun, whether it's 800 or $175, right?
Yeah.
It's the same. Like you're not going to damage one more than the other. It's
Ah,
it's the same, right? So it's like it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Now, can you screw something up? Yeah, to the point where it might not work, but not where it can't be fixed. So
yeah.
it's not that big a deal, right? So, but
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. When you have a prized possession, I understand some people don't want to work on it, right? But anyway,
Yeah. Well, and I'm not trying to get anybody to do something that they don't want to do, but I do have several people that are seriously saying, yeah, man, I really want to get into this. And,
right?
and so I'm turning them on to other channels, people that actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's stuff,
Because,
there's tutorials out there. Like I don't offer like tutorials and this is how you do it because I'm not, I don't pretend to be a luthier or a guitar repair tech or whatever. Like I just do my own stuff and I like to share it. So you'll never see me do like a how-to video. You'll see
yeah,
me do like, this is how I set up my guitars and I'll share what I do, but that doesn't mean that you're going to want to do that, or that doesn't mean that, right? So anyway, it's just everybody at some point, everybody needs a reason to do something. And,
yeah,
nobody really worries about their health until there's a reason to worry about it. Like, right? Nobody really wants to tackle the soldering job until you call your guitar tech like for the 7th time and you still can't take it in. Then they might be like, you know what? I'm going to do this myself. So I'm that kind of personality. I'll just get it done. And what's the worst that can happen? If I
yeah,
screw this one up, I'll take one of those to the gig. Like, not a big deal. And I'll deal with this later. Like it's in the grand scheme of things in life, right? TED Talks, you know, guitars in life. It's not that big a deal to mess up a pot in a guitar, right? So
That's
I'm not,
true.
I'm not too worried about it.
There are more things happening on the earth probably that are more important.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, man. Well, what has been like in your budget journey? I mean, maybe you've already told us. What's been the most surprising brand that you found, or
Well, that's kind of easy for me.
yeah,
And that would be the Musea brand of guitars. I haven't, so, and mostly for two reasons. They have the specs that I particularly like. When I buy a guitar, or if I could design my own guitar, I would want locking tuners, bone nuts or Graphtec nut, something like that. Roasted maple neck. I like the maple for some reason. Fretboard as well. I like contours. Years ago, mountain biking, I kind of tweaked my shoulder going over the handlebars, and just a square body telly like this one, just having your arm in this position as opposed to like a strat cut where your arm can be back, man, makes a huge difference to my shoulder in a 3-hour gig. So I like tellies with forearm contours, right? So I reviewed an guitar. I don't know if you're familiar with the brand. They're very similar in looks to the Musea stuff, but and I think they may have upgraded them quite a bit because their prices have doubled since I bought mine. I no longer have it. I sold it, but I had to mod everything on that thing. I had to upgrade the tuners. I had to upgrade the nut. The volume pots were just the typical small stuff. Pickups were terrible. Didn't like them. The bridge was, saddles were unintonatable. Like they were just the round barrel saddles. You couldn't get them perfect. So I modded everything on that guitar. And I think that's still on my channel. I don't know. But then somebody, reached out and said, hey, if you like the you should try the Musea. And I'd never heard of them. So when I looked up the Musea, they were available in Canada, but they were like, $485 for like the classic telly. And I'm like, that's a little up there, like for a budget guitar. It's still cheap compared to what I used to buy, like Fender wise. But when I figured, you know what? Worst case, I'll return it if it's really not that good. But this guy who commented, and I can't remember his name, so sorry if you're watching, but he said, like I'll easily compare this to my $700, American Telecaster. Like no problem. Like, all right, this guy's either, cuckoo or he's just wants me to review a guitar that he's curious about. Maybe he doesn't even have one, or I always kind of think negatively first. So I bought this guitar and I was like, what's going on? How can these guys put this together for $500? Like just the paint alone, like just the man, it was amazing. So roasted maple neck, bone nut, locking tuners, stainless steel frets, insulated cloth wire pickups made in-house, full-size pots, pure tone style jack, Wilkinson branded bridge and compensated brass saddles, just like truss rod wheel adjustment at the bottom, just like my custom shop stuff. I was like, what is going on? Anyway, and then since then I've bought many other budget guitars because I'm looking for the Musea killer. Like I really am. I'm trying to find a guitar under $500 that can compete with it playability wise, like stock right out of the box, like no mods necessary. And the Musea, to be honest, is the only guitar that I have taken repeatedly to gigs stock as is.
Wow.
No upgrades, no mods, no whatever. Now, have I modded some? Yes. Right now that I know that they have passed the test, I have, put some pickups in there and changed all the hardware to black, of course, and I've done a bunch of stuff. But that guitar for me, the Musea brand, like here, and now I'm in Canada, so for you it might be different, but I just haven't seen anything that can compete. And if I go to my local music store and I have a list of all the specs on that guitar, I have to spend $1,500 to $1,700. So that guy was right to get anything close. And even at that price here in Canada, I can't get stainless steel frets on a Fender guitar.
Wow.
So unless we don't get a certain line that you guys get, but you can't get
Yeah.
it. So yeah, it really surprised me to no end. The Westcreek stuff I like, really nice, but it's you can tell they're more budget, right? For one thing, they're half the price. Don't have stainless steel frets. Fit and finish is good, but not as good. And again, maybe I might be a little biased because I'm not really a Gibson guy. So they make mostly Gibson models. Mind you, they recently started coming out with the Fender kind of looking guitars, but yeah, but the Demusea really like threw me for a loop. I'm like, what is going on? Now they're unavailable in North America. My guy at Demusea is telling me they're coming back. They're moving to a bigger custom shop. Is that true? I don't know. I have no idea. So I don't have it. And a lot of people think that I'm working for them and stuff. No, I just really like their stuff. Kind of like with you and T, right?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I get it all the time. Do you work for those guys? I'm like, no, I dig the guitar, man.
Yeah, I'm just super impressed with the, like there's no way, I could buy the materials myself. Even the parts. If I were to buy the parts, I'd have $300 of parts. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know how they can put that together, ship it to Canada, and sell it for. Back in the day when I bought mine, it was like $485 on Amazon. I don't know how they can do it. And I had the earlier versions had no ground wire to the bridge. And there was like static and, kind of some weird noises when you played with the volume pots and stuff. And I pointed that out on my video. Well, somebody from Demusea saw my video and reached out to me and apologized for that. And they said, we can refund you like partially for your guitar, or we can send you one of our Fusion models for you to review. And I was like, I'll take the Fusion model. Because I can solder a ground wire. That's not a problem. Anyway, so yeah, that kind of started that relationship, I guess. Well, not a relationship, but so I did get one free guitar from them, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I was thinking about you the other day, man. I hate to even tell you this. This is going to blow your mind. So I was on eBay and they had a Demusea, some pawn shop somewhere, I think like in Alabama. I don't know, some undisclosed location. $199 for the Virgo
Are you
Classic.
serious? Wow.
And I hate to say it, I did not buy it. I didn't do it.
They're not for everybody, man. Like, right? Like I like them. Doesn't mean that you would. But
Well,
I like compound radius boards, right? I like the 9 at the top and the 12 at the bottom, and the Demusea has that stock. I'm like, okay, well, it's almost like they're made for me. Like I really like them a lot, but it doesn't mean that everybody would, right? So, and they're not without their issues, right? Like I've had a few that I just couldn't get rid of the string buzz. I don't know what it was. Like if it was just the roundness of the fret or what, right? So I've had some issues with them that I had to address. But like that one I got for free, it just came from Amazon. It was like a return. The box was all bent up. And I took that thing out of the box. I tweaked the intonation. I set the action to what I like. I had a gig that night. I took it to a 4-hour gig, and it felt like a guitar I had played for years. I couldn't believe it. It was just like totally stopped. I could not believe it. So it just, that's 2 for 2, right? And I was like, okay, I'm sold. Right? Anyway.
No, I get it, man. Yeah, I think the pause that I had was that it was at a pawn shop. And I just, I remembered watching a couple of your vids, at least one for sure, where I think it was in Demusea, and somebody had like swapped out the tuners, or there was some components that were missing. And I was like, oh man, sure $199 sounds good till you get the guitar, and Jim Bob come to find out, swatch, there are no pots in the guitar or whatever. So,
that was pretty funny.
I have wanted to check them out, man, for sure. But
well, they might be back. I don't know. I don't have a date. I don't have I don't know anything about that. But I'm hoping they come back because I really like their stuff. And now that I've had my yellow one for almost, oh man, a good year, maybe more, a year and a half. And it just, you know, that thing's a workhorse, and I want to get more. I'd like to have a couple and just kind of have them in the box and just stockpile them. And then, you know, if ever one breaks, you just take another one out.
There you go. I think that's cool.
So hey, we'll see what happens, but yeah.
So Musey for the win, for like the most surprising. What has there been anything that's like been super disappointing along the way, like something you heard about or you just knew was going to be great, but you got it?
Well, this is not a diss towards them, but if I'm being honest, I was looking at the Michael Kelly brand, which is a US brand, but they're made overseas, but they're like designed and, you know, sold in the US. And they have a really good name, and they make guitars from, I think, maybe the $300 range all the way up to like $3,000. And so I've been doing, I had done a lot of reading up on them, and I did a lot of you know, YouTube video watching these guys, you know, unbox and play them, and I decided, you know what, I want a Michael Kelly, because I thought that might be a music killer right there, like the Michael Kelly stuff, right? And I bought a super nice one. It had a kind of a flame top, caramelized finish on it, and it didn't have a roasted maple neck, but had, I can't remember. It had, I think, rosewood neck and nice inlays. Supposed to have a bone nut. Anyway, so I bought this guitar, and again, they had pickups that I think they make in-house, or they have a special contract with somebody. But I know I researched these pickups, and you can't buy them online. Like you can't buy aftermarket pickups. You have to. They're only in these guitars for whatever reason. So and maybe that's changed since I own mine. I don't know. But I was very unimpressed when I got it. Fit and finish was kind of bad. I had to do a ton of work to get this guitar working. So I reached out to the company, and the CEO of Michael Kelly, you know, contacted me. He said, "You should have never gotten that guitar. Like, I don't know where it came from, but it's unacceptable." And blah blah blah. And he, you know, gave me like super nice people there, Michael Kelly. And so he made arrangements to have another one sent to me for absolutely free. I'm like, what? So he sent me the identical model. I had bought mine in 2023. Has it been a year already? Holy smokes. I think it was like February 2023 that I bought it. And but when I got the guitar, it was like 2017 or something. Like in the box, there was a little sticker. It had been. So I'm like, what? What is this, in a warehouse somewhere for years? Like, what's going on? So, so the next one I got was, in fact, a 2023 model, and you know what? It had all the same issues, man. Like from the first one in 17 to this one in 2023, and I might be wrong on the dates there, but I know there was like a 4-year gap or something, and I was like, man, what's going on? I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, once set up and dialed in, man, they were great. They sounded nice. But for the price difference, now for me, that guitar was just over $500, and the Musea was just so superior. Like I didn't have to do half the work on the Musea that I had to do to this. And this is a, like, you know, an established brand name. Now, had I jumped up to the $800 Tele or the $1,000, I'm sure those problems wouldn't have been there. But unless I got two bad guitars 4 years apart in production, what are the chances? I don't know. Just the neck pocket was really loose, you know, the neck, just the same problems on both.
Yeah.
So, you know, nothing against Michael Kelly. They're a fantastic company to deal with. Like, they, you know, went above and beyond. I was just a little disappointed for my money. And that, you know, I heard you say, you know, this for me, like my Squier is the gold standard of Strats, you know, your budget Strats. Well, for me, the Musea is my new gold standard. If I'm looking at a Strat or a Tele, or, because I have every model that Musea made, and that's my gold standard. So if I'm spending anywhere around the $500, $600, like it has to be able to compete with that. Because why would I buy it for the name on the headstock, that doesn't make me play better. Like, right? Like, it might stroke my ego a little bit, but it doesn't, right? So for me, it has to at least keep up with the Demusea, if not kind of leave it in the dust. And I honestly, Ted, I haven't found anything like on the bench, ripped apart, whatever, that competes with it. I just haven't. So I don't know. And maybe I've just been lucky. Maybe of all the 5 Museas that I've gotten, they were just really good. And all the other ones are bad. Right? I don't think I'm that lucky, but I don't know.
5 unicorns. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, some people are like, you're full of it. It's what it is. You come to a gig and I'm playing one. Like it's just what it is.
Oh man. Well, that's good, man. No, I appreciate hearing that. And I'm glad to hear they're coming back around. And
I don't know. Well, I hope so.
Who knows what'll happen?
Yeah. We'll see.
What about like so I know that you purchase things on Amazon, but do you do like the Temu, eBay? Do you do all that? What are your like vendors for guitars?
You know what? Here in Canada, there isn't a whole lot of brands to pick from. Like, I know I have some friends like from the US, like yourself, and you talk about these different brands of guitars, like FireFly for one, and I'm like, we can't get that here. Well, not the models that I want anyway. So I mean, you can get them, but then you're into exchange rates and taxes and duty fees, and then it becomes not like it's not really attainable, because if I know you're gonna have to mod these guitars based on what I've seen, and for me, if I mod stuff, I'm looking at $230 to $250 Canadian, and that's like a full suite, tuners, bridge, and not pickups, just hardware. Pickups would be another couple $100, because if I'm going to change the pickups, they're going to be good. Mind you, the last little video I did with that mini Squier Strat, I'm kind of thinking, geez, maybe I shouldn't be spending money on those pickups. But yeah, so I pretty much, Amazon is my go-to, only because of they're so easy to deal with. And I know some people say, oh, Amazon sucks, and I don't like Amazon, but here in Canada, I don't know, or my experience, I have never had an issue with Amazon as far as like returning something or getting a partial refund if something's not 100%. Like, they are fantastic to deal with. Like, when I call them on the phone or whatever, they're kind of annoying to get a hold of with all the AI stuff, but they're it's been great. So eBay, a lot of those guys are like individual sellers, and they may or may not come through for you. So I kind of leave that aside, unless it's something I really, really want. But honestly, I haven't bought anything from eBay since probably like early 2000, like when it first came out. And Temu, I buy, I'll buy some like guitar tools and stuff, like not crucial tools, but little files and stuff, that I like to have on hand or whatever. But I have yet to buy. My buddy Mike, Mike, he bought a couple of guitars on Temu, and they seem to be good. So, but I haven't gone that route, not yet anyway. So Amazon, I'd say, is probably probably my place to shop the most.
Yeah, me too. And he does talk about Temu a lot, and I think AliExpress, and I'm just like, man, I've never bought anything from those guys. I
bought some from AliExpress years ago, like when they first came out, like when the internet was kind of just starting out. I remember finding a blonde Blackguard Telly on there for $86.
Oh,
I'm like, okay, this is too good to pass up. And it wasn't. I should have passed it up. Yeah, it was nasty. So it wasn't a great experience, and I just never went back to AliExpress. But I'm sure they've improved over time. That was probably 15, 18 years ago, God knows. So
wow. Well, what's the guitar that got away? Have you had one that you used to have that you don't have anymore, and you just kind of, seems like a lot of guys have those?
There's two of them that come to mind that I wish I still had. I wish I still had them all, just to reminisce. But I don't really get attached to material things.
Okay.
It's a tool for me, and
Mm.
it serves a purpose, and it brings a little bit of income in, and helps pay for guitar strings and mods and YouTube stuff because I'm not monetized or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
I don't really get attached to stuff. However, Two Bike Mike, gave me one of his guitars at a
Mm.
super great price. So that's kind of cool that a YouTuber sent me a guitar, Um,
Yeah.
so that's something I just wouldn't sell. And I have one guitar up on the wall there that I designed myself. And
Mm.
so, I rarely play it, but it's something that means something to me, I have an old bass guitar here that my mom, God rest her soul, had bought from her bass
Oh,
player when she used to play in a band. So I just
wow.
never wanted to get rid of that, But there's one guitar that I built from scratch. I was looking for the perfect Telecaster and something that was comfortable. But back in the day, excuse me, you couldn't get a Telecaster with like a forearm contour and belly cuts and
Yeah.
stuff. So I reached out to what do they call Warmouth Custom Guitars,
Yeah.
and I spoke to a gentleman there, and man, he was super awesome. And so we came out with a Strat body, a solid piece of alder, and it was stained, not painted. And we had the forearm contours, like typical Strat, but it was routed to vintage Telecaster spec. So it was a hardtail. It had the Telecaster routes. It had the Telecaster bridge or the Telecaster control plate at the bottom. I ordered the ashtray bridge. It was basically a Telecaster with a Strat body. So I called it my hybrid Telly. It had a Telecaster neck, and that thing was slick. And I sold it to buy something else, and that's one that I would like to get back.
Yeah.
It was a cool guitar. It went to Toronto, Ontario, I think, and if I ever saw it out there, I'd try and buy it back. It was cool. It was a cool build, but that back in the day, it was affordable. Like that body cost me like $400, which today that same body would be close to $1,000 if I ordered it from Warmouth, right? Like the prices have just skyrocketed. But it was a nice guitar. And then there was another one. I don't know if I really, I don't know if I really miss it, but it was a Wolfgang guitar, like the Eddie Van Halen style. So it had it had the full humbuckers and the big Floyd Rose trem and anyway, I totally modded that thing. I filled the back cavity, installed the Telly bridge, Telly pickup, it was a Wolfgang Telly, I guess. And got rid of the big locking nut at the top, filled that all out. It was just a typical. Anyway, that was a super cool looking guitar, and I sold that too. I'm like, man, why did I do that? Anyway, I like stuff that you can't go buy in a store. I like stuff that nobody really has, So those are two that if I could get back, I would, probably pull the trigger on those. But that's about it, really. I don't really get attached to stuff. So it's all right. It's just a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there like a holy grail guitar for you? Is there a dream rig out there somewhere that you'd like to have one day? Or is it just, and I really, man, I appreciate you hearing you say it's just a tool, man. That's because you're a real musician.
Well, that's debatable.
I knew you would say that.
I
I
play
knew you would
music.
say that.
Anyway, but I really like the Music Man Axis stuff. I don't know if you've ever come across one. They're kind of very Telly-esque. Well, actually, here, just a sec, Ted.
Yeah.
So here's one. It's a super cheap one. So this is a Music Man AX20. So they don't make these. You can't buy them in a store. The only way you can get these is through a contest. And usually they have a big Monster energy drink logo on them. So I found one of these in Ontario. For some reason, Ontario here seems to be the hub for guitar stuff. And I reached out to the guy, and of course, he said he'd sell it to me, but he didn't want to ship it to Canada. So I had a friend in Toronto who picked it up for me, and he shipped it to me. And long story, I got it, and it was junk. It was playable, and that was it. But yeah, so I did a total overhaul on it. In memory of a friend of mine who passed away of cancer. So I have his name and his business down here. And it's a really cool guitar, but I love this body style. It's like very Tele-esque, right? It's got the short horn, but it's a little bit longer than a Tele, so it balances better with the guitar strap. It has the short horn at the bottom, just like kind of a Tele would. And, you know, just 2 knobs and a switch, just like a Tele, nothing fancy. And these are hardtails. So they make the American version of this. And but it's like here in Canada, it's like $4,600. Like they're like ridiculously expensive. Yeah, you know, they have beautiful necks. Now this one just has like a really thin, slim C neck, but the Music Mans that I've played in the past have like a like the necks are kind of they're thicker at the top than at the bottom. It's very comfortable to play. They're not. What do you call that? My French is kicking in, and I can't think of the English word. But they're kind of like like an offset neck, like the curvature. It's kind of like a D shape at the top, and then a C shape at the bottom.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, they're very, very cool, and they're super comfortable for chording, and they're super nice guitars. But not that I can't afford one. You know, I could buy one, but then you're taking it out to a gig, nobody knows the difference, and then you're worried about it all night long. Like every time you take a break, you're like watching it, make sure nobody's like going close. And so I have a friend of mine who works at the hospital, and one of the lead physicians there is actually a woodworker at his spare time, and his passion is building guitars.
Oh, okay. All right.
You should see the stuff that this guy's building. It's like, wow, that's crazy. So he can't play a lick, but he can build them. Man, they're nice. So he's built like Strat copies and Tele copies, and they're really, really nice. And being a woodworker, like he has access to all of these like rare woods, right? It's really cool. So they're gonna build me one. They're gonna build me a customized version. So it's going to be like a Music Man with the same type of. Obviously, we're not going to copy it because of copyright issues and all that stuff. But it's going to be very similar in shape. But mine's going to have like a forearm contour and more of a Tele-esque, more of a like Tele routes to it, So yeah, just to make it my own, and I'm looking forward to that. That should be cool. So hopefully, I'll be able to share that whole process on my channel, and maybe do a little bit of publicity and promotion for this guy. His retirement plan is to get into like guitar building seriously, I think is what I kind of understood. So I'll share that with you if it comes to fruition.
Oh yeah, man, I'd love to see it for sure. Yeah.
But that's kind of, so I have like a love-hate relationship with Teles, right? They're like, everybody knows, oh, you're a Tele guy, you're a Tele guy, you're a Tele guy. And I like me a good Tele, but I'll tell you what, they are super uncomfortable to play. Like they don't balance well, and
that's right.
Big square bodies are uncomfortable for me and my shoulder. But there's something about the sound of a Tele, man, that it just gets me every time. I love it. So
that's good.
So yeah, so I'm looking for my version of the perfect Telecaster, and so far these bodies are pretty slick. I like them.
All right. That's cool. Okay, well, last question.
Sure.
So you can take this any way you want to go. You can go guitar route, you can go guitar maintenance route, you can go life route.
Okay.
If you could go back in time,
talk
to your younger self, what counsel would you offer the young J-Man Esquire? If anything comes to mind.
I would say just say yes.
All right. Just say yes.
Just say yes, man. Because in the past, I've had a lot of offers to go play with people like on big stages, and I just was like, no, no, you get someone better. Like, no, I'm not.
Oh, wow.
I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not making you guys look like idiots up there. Like, no. So I've turned down a lot of pretty cool opportunities because of my, belief that I'm just not cut of the same cloth with a lot of the, my fellow musicians or whatever. So, but if I could go back, and the ironic thing is, had I jumped on those opportunities, I think I'd be better today than I am, right? So it's like I was saying earlier, you don't get good at something by not doing it. So I think if I could go back, I would tell myself, just say yes, right? And how many guitars have I not bought because I was worried about, my car payment or this, and you know what? In the grand scheme of things, always make ends meet somehow. There's always food on the table. There's always, God always provides, right? So so I would just have bought that guitar. But if I could go back in time, I would just say, I'd just say yes. Just something comes up, say yes. As a door opens, you go, like, do it, because it might not open again. And that's usually what happens, because when somebody approaches you and say, hey, I need a guitar player to do this gig, you say no, well, they're not calling you again. You know what I mean? So, but don't get me wrong, I'm not disappointed with the way my life path has taken me. I'm super appreciative that I have my health and I do what I do, and like, don't get me wrong, but I think opportunities present themselves to individuals for a reason, and when you turn them down, who knows where that could take you, right? So I always tell my students, if something happens, you get an opportunity, go for it. What's the worst that can happen, right? What's the worst that can happen? Like,
hey, there you go.
Right? Anyway, it's just something that you talk to your kids about.
No doubt. Well, that's a great way to end. Just say yes, everybody. Just say yes. Hey, if you haven't seen J-Man's channel, I'll put a link in the description below. Go hang out with J-Man. It's great content. You'll love it. I've learned a whole bunch, man.
You're too kind, man.
No, I'm serious, dude. I've got no reason to be anything other than truthful. But yeah, man, if you haven't seen the J-Man's channel, you are missing out. Go check that out. And wherever you are in your guitar journey, I pray it's a long, smooth, safe, joy-filled ride for you, Jack. Rock on with your bad selves, everybody. Catch you down the road.
See ya. Thank you.